They tell us Rome fell slowly, worn down by time, weakened by decadence and decay. But there were moments when Rome did not decline at all. It collapsed, suddenly, violently, and in ways it never wanted remembered. Rome built its empire on victory, on the belief that defeat was temporary and dominance inevitable. Triumphs were carved into stone, paraded through the streets, immortalized in memory. But failures were something else entirely. Those were buried, renamed, sometimes erased so completely that even Romans learned to forget them. One such moment began far from marble cities and cheering crowds, in a land Rome believed it already controlled. The legions marched with confidence, banners high, convinced that resistance had been broken. Their commanders trusted local allies, men who spoke Latin, wore Roman armor, and swore loyalty to the emperor. What Rome did not see was the patience behind those smiles, or the quiet resentment building beneath obedience. When the betrayal came, it was total. The legions were drawn deep into unfamiliar terrain, their formations stretched, their discipline useless against an enemy that refused to fight openly. Rain-soaked armor, mud swallowed shields, orders dissolved into confusion. Officers fell first, standards vanished. What should have been a campaign ended as an annihilation. An entire Roman army disappeared. The shock was not just military, it was psychological. Rome did not announce the defeat. It avoided the names of the lost units. The numbers tied to those legions were never used again. The emperor himself was said to wander his palace at night, calling out for the dead to return. And the empire quietly redrew its borders, choosing fear over ambition, silence over revenge. But this was not an isolated failure. Years earlier, in the open plains of the East, Rome had suffered another disaster it struggled to explain away. There, Roman pride collided with an enemy that fought differently, faster, farther, and without honor as Rome understood it. Heavy infantry advanced as they always had, disciplined and relentless, only to find themselves surrounded by arrows they could not reach and enemies they could not pin down. The defeat was absolute. Commanders were captured, thousands were killed, others were taken alive, marched east, and vanished into obscurity. Rome spoke of it as a miscalculation, a temporary setback, but the truth was more unsettling. For the first time, Rome realized that its greatest strength, its traditions, could also be its weakness. These defeats shared something deeper than military failure. They revealed fractures within the empire itself. Overconfidence, political ambition placed above caution, commanders more concerned with personal glory than strategic reality, allies treated as tools rather than partners, enemies underestimated because they did not fight like Romans. The turning point came not on a battlefield, but in Rome's response. Instead of reckoning with these losses, the empire chose selective memory. Histories were rewritten to emphasize victories elsewhere. Celebrations continued, new conquests were announced, but the lessons of defeat were never openly taught. That silence had consequences. Rome became more cautious, but also more rigid. Borders hardened, fear replaced curiosity. The empire that once expanded through adaptation began to rely on denial. And when future crises emerged, internal revolts, economic strain, rival powers, Rome found itself repeating the same patterns, unable to confront uncomfortable truths. The people who suffered most were not the senators or emperors whose names survived. They were the soldiers abandoned to history, the families who never received answers, the cultures erased to preserve Rome's image of invincibility.
History, as Rome understood it, was not a record of what happened. It was a tool, a weapon used to shape memory, control perception, and protect authority. And that raises an unsettling question. If even Rome, the most documented empire of the ancient world, could choose what to remember and what to bury, how much of what we call history is truth, and how much is simply what the powerful decided we were allowed to know?